and welcome. You're watching Best of the Bets. My name's Christina Nicolaides. It is a Champions League special, and I have our regular guests. I've got our football expert and editor of bestofthebets.com. It's Sammy Diamond.
Hello.
And we've also got Gareth Walker, who is our bookie extraordinaire from Heaven Bet. Thank you for being with me once again. Champions League special, the second leg of the last 16. And what a fantastic group of games we've got, starting with Manchester United versus Real Madrid.
It should be a classic if the first game's anything to go by. Manchester United are 2.9 to win in 90 minutes.
Yep.
The draw is 3.6 and Real Madrid are 2.4. Real Madrid are actually favourites, not only for this match, they're favourites to qualify as well. What do you make of that?
Well, it is slightly surprising given the fact that Man United gave them such a good game in the Bernabeu. Obviously, it needed a brilliant performance from David De Gea, but it seems like the bookmakers are underestimating Man United slightly for this return game. Especially when you have to consider that Madrid play in the Clásico against Barcelona on a Saturday afternoon. Barcelona haven't done them many favours by moving it to then. I think Real Madrid wanted it even earlier to prepare for this game. Yeah. And despite the fact that they don't really have anything to play for in the league, I think there's still a certain amount of pressure put on them with just the how immense that game is for them. So I think this is going to be another very closely fought game. I think both teams will find the target, and I quite like a repeat of the 1-1 scoreline. I can see this game going the distance on the night.
1-1, which would of course produce extra time and then potentially some penalty kicks. That would be
exciting.
What a way to settle it that would be. The first game was fascinating. The whole tactical battle between United and Madrid. I think Ferguson afterwards was concerned that his team had sat too deep. Really, the plan was definitely to allow Madrid to attack them, but I think he was concerned afterwards that actually they'd allowed that to happen too much. They were pretty successful in nullifying Ronaldo, but one of the question marks for me for this game is how will it happen again in the second match, because it's a big question mark about Phil Jones, who did such a good job in the first game. What did happen in the first game was that Angel Di Maria was given a lot more space, so he'll be looking to exploit that. For me, I think the best plan will be for Ferguson to sit back and allow Real to attack, but I'm not really sure that he's going to go with that strategy. Surely he's going to feel the need to go out and attack, and that is when Real Madrid are at the strongest, when they're able to hit people on the counter attack. So I think that Real Madrid will get through this match. I think they'll win, and I think that the reason that they are favourites is because they're widely recognised as the second best team in Europe. And United are probably only, at the moment, regarded as maybe 5th or 6th best, despite the fact that they're best in England. So many times teams have gone to Old Trafford in Europe and really attacked United and created a load of chances. You know, go back to the very first game in the Champions League this season at Old Trafford. Galatasaray went to Old Trafford and could easily have won. They didn't. And I like the 2-1 to Real, which is priced at 8.3. I think that Real have just got that extra bit of quality.
Wouldn't be the first Spanish side to do it in recent years. Just look back to how Athletic Bilbao tore them to pieces in the Europa League last season. Madrid certainly have the capabilities to do something. Just looking back at the tactics, I mean, what did you make of Shinji Kagawa's inclusion in that side?
Well, I think when the team was announced, the common consensus seemed to be, oh, well, he's gone very attacking, Ferguson. But he named a lot of attacking players, but he used them in very defensive roles. Yeah. I think
Kagawa didn't impress me on...
I think a lot of people said that, but I thought what he did do so well was he pulled Xabi Alonso all over the place. Yeah. And as much as Ronaldo gets the plaudits in that Real Madrid team, and quite rightly so, the goals he scores are phenomenal, but Alonso is very much the heartbeat, and I think by pulling him all over the pitch as he did,
very well. I thought he had a good game.
Very similar to the way Mario Götze did for Dortmund early in the season, I think it really sort of stifled Madrid's play. It'll be interesting to see if something like that pans out at Old Trafford.
Interesting statistic, Manchester United faced more shots, including blocked, against Madrid, 28 shots in total, 7 from Ronaldo, than in any Champions League or Premier League game this season.
Oh, I mean, that's why Ferguson was concerned, because he felt as I said, that was definitely the plan, to allow Real onto them, but they sat off too much, and he'll be hoping that they execute the plan slightly better at home.
I think there'll be lots of goals, personally.
What score are you looking at?
I'm going to go Manchester United 3, Real Madrid 2.
3-2, which is priced at 18.
OK, so the next game we're looking at is Borussia Dortmund versus Shakhtar Donetsk. In the first leg, it did finish 2-2.
I think a wise man sitting next to me predicted it would finish 2-2. Dortmund are now 1.6 to win at home to Shakhtar. Shakhtar available at 5.5. and the draw in 90 minutes for this game is 4.1.
Both these teams are so enjoyable to watch. I love to play a really high pressing game, sort of very attacking, and some great talent on display. I think Dortmund getting that equaliser have done themselves a great chance now to get through, and I think just back on home soil now.
I think they've got the upper hand?
Oh, they've certainly got the upper hand, and I think they take full advantage of that. They were beaten by Hamburg in the Bundesliga recently, sort of taken apart in that game. But apart from that, they've been so strong at home lately, and they love to get their games done and dusted early on. I think they've scored 15 goals inside the opening half an hour in their last 12 league games. So it just shows how they just take games by the scruff of the neck very early on.
So would this one be a game where you'd go Dortmund half-time?
That's exactly
Dortmund
what I'm
full-time?
looking at, yeah. I think if they can get ahead as they have been doing, then they've got enough quality to put this one to bed. I really do like Shakhtar, but I think the sale of Willian to Ansi Makalala has been a loss at a pivotal time for them, and I expect Dortmund to go through and take the plaudits there.
That half-time, full-time is available at 2.5, so you're getting a much bigger price for your bet siding with Dortmund. They do have to lead at half-time and then win the game at full-time, but 2.5 is a nice price for that. I was quite bullish about Shakhtar's chances. Fully recognise what a fantastic side Dortmund are. Probably the second best side going forward in Europe, I'd say, this season. They're really strong. Dortmund have got over the biggest hurdle. They've gone to Donetsk, got a 2-2 draw, which is a great result for them. They'll be absolutely delighted with that. Again, ropey defending from Shakhtar, home advantage, which is absolutely massive. The key man for Dortmund, Gundogan, he'll be back this time. He missed the first leg. Yeah. You look at the record, the games that he's missed for Dortmund this season they've been dreadful. The results it's incredible how much impact one player can have, a real unsung player at that as well. But he's back. I can't see anything going wrong for Dortmund here. Shakhtar are available at 4.2 to qualify from this tie if you think that they can pull it off. But I think Dortmund, surely from here, they'll be strong enough to get through.
OK. Just before we move on to the other game, will you take us through the outrights that we're offering from Heaven Bet?
Absolutely. It's all changed in the outright betting as a result of the Milan 2, Barcelona 0 scoreline, which was an incredible game. We've got new favourites now. Bayern Munich are favourites. They're priced at 4. Barcelona now second favourites. They're available at 5. That price will really plummet if they can get through against Milan. But as it stands, they're 5 to win the Champions League. Real Madrid 5.5. Again, their future in the competition's in the balance at the moment. Dortmund available at 9. Manchester United at 9 as well. Juventus are 11. PSG are 21, and Milan are 21. And then after that, you're looking at 50 for Porto or Schalke. And then bigger prices, Shakhtar 66, and then into 3 figures. Arsenal perhaps of interest at 200 to 1 if anyone's feeling very brave. And then Celtic, now outsiders of the field, they're 1,001 to win the Champions League if you fancy risking a very speculative pound on our Scottish friends.
OK. We are going to move on to Paris Saint-Germain versus Valencia. So just to remind everyone, in the first leg it finished Valencia 1, PSG 2, and obviously remembering that Ibrahimovic did actually get red carded, so he won't be playing in the second leg.
Absolutely ridiculous that this tie is still in the balance.
Yeah.
And I think that has to be a boost to Valencia, because I don't think they can be outplayed to such an extent again. Obviously, going to the Parc des Princes is going to be it's a tough ask, but I think just the momentum has shifted so much just with those couple of incidents right at the end of that match that I think at the prices you've got to be looking at Valencia.
PSG have shot themselves in the foot a bit, really, because Ibrahimovic is stupidly suspended. Marco Verratti misses this game as well, and they should have been just home and hosed in this one. They were so much better than Valencia for 89 minutes of the match. Valencia didn't look good at all to me. I'm not convinced by Valencia at all for much of this season, not just in that game. Yeah. And the question mark against PSG, which was how would they perform on the big European stage, was answered emphatically. They were really good. Those interested in Valencia, they're available at 6.5 to qualify, which is tempting. It's difficult to work out with a 4.3 to win the game. Is that a better bet than Valencia to qualify at 6.5? Because a 1-0 win for Valencia you wouldn't have thought is very likely. Yeah. So you're taken out of the equation. If it's 2-1, it'll go to extra time, or otherwise any other margin of victory will get Valencia through. But I think that PSG will have enough quality to come through this game. I can't see that Valencia can pull off the shock at what has been a very intimidating Parc des Princes recently.
They certainly should have enough quality, just when you take into consideration their financial weight. But I don't think Marco Verratti really has been the player he was earlier on in the season in midfield. But I think it'll be very interesting to see Lucas Moura again, because he's had a real blossoming start to his PSG career. And he has linked up very well with Zlatan, so whether he can do it with others then remains to be seen. But PSG should qualify, but I just think that huge momentum shift at the end of the game just gives Valencia a glimmer of hope, and it's worth siding with at 6.5 to qualify.
Yeah, that's even with the away record Valencia have got. They've scored 9 goals away in La Liga. You know, they're going to need to score 2 minimum here.
Yeah, we're moving on to Juventus versus Celtic.
You know, Celtic competed really, really well. They were fantastic in midfield. Bossed really one of the best midfield trios in Europe. So they can take heart from that. But they did play a very high-risk strategy, which was to leave 2 against 2 at the back. And they were punished. And they weren't clinical enough up front. And then when they're tired near the end of the game, they were just absolutely picked off by Juventus, who turned in a very impressive performance. I'm not convinced Juventus have got enough to actually win the competition. But, you know, it was certainly a job well done. There have been some examples of tremendous Champions League comebacks. Liverpool were 3-0 down against Milan. Arsenal won a second leg 3-0, but they were unfortunately 4 down from the first leg.
The miracle story of last season.
Anything can happen, but you know, you have to bear in mind this is a Juventus side playing Celtic.
Yeah.
I can't think of a single Celtic player that would get into Juventus's first 11. That's not to have a pop at Celtic.
No,
they had a great campaign,
agree.
fantastically well to get through. Probably sounds very patronising to say that, but they've got their big night in Turin. And I wouldn't rule out them coming away with a draw on the night, or maybe even they could potentially even nick a win, which would be fantastic. But at the end of the day, there's not even going to be a sniff of Celtic qualifying.
I think it's all to do with how Celtic approach this game. I think if they want to feel hard done by and feel like they've been robbed of a chance, then
I hope they don't. I hope they go out there and they just want to,
if they play,
a game for pride, a game to kind of re-establish themselves in Europe.
If they put that kind of spirited performance that we've seen them produce in Europe over the years, then they can get something on the night. But otherwise, I'd worry, and I could see them just getting beaten again.
Right, let's leave it there. We are going to find out what Mike Holden has to say about this particular game.
And given the dynamics of the tie, the fact that Juventus, you know, might just kind of be happy with the 3-0 lead that they've got and not necessarily go for the throat in the return game, I think there's a squeak of value to be adding back in Celtic at big prices. We've seen this before in the past where, you know, teams get hammered at home in the first leg, and it's taking the pressure off Celtic now. If they can go over to, you know, Juventus's spanking new stadium and basically turn them over in the back garden over 90 minutes, then I think they'll salvage a lot of pride from that. And I think as an isolated event, Celtic to nick it by the odd goal, there might be some value there.
Yeah, if Celtic nick it on the night, they're available at 10, so they'd have to just win by any scoreline on the night itself in 90 minutes. So yeah, it's a fair price. Wouldn't rule that out. Draw at 5, Celtic 10, Juventus very short at 1.3 at home, and you've just got to bear in mind if you're looking to back that they don't need to win, so a draw would suit Juventus fine. I don't think they'd be interested in the 90-minute score as long as they're through into the quarter-final draw.
Celtic to qualify?
If you think that the biggest miracle of all can happen, we'll lay 51 about that.
Keep it.
Best bet out of those games that we've looked at?
For me, I'm going to go with a team that I think can go a very long way in this competition. So I'm going to look at Borussia Dortmund half-time, full-time against Shakhtar at 2.5.
2.5. I'm going to go with Real Madrid to win at Old Trafford at 2.4.
You can see I'm watching you. I'm going to go for Man United to beat Real Madrid 3-2.
3-2, which is 18.
That's it for part 1. Join us after the break when we look at more games for the Champions League second leg, last 16.
Bet.com, a new betting site from Poker Heaven.